Triton. I think that's his name. Hi, Triton.
I hate you.
And our first-time guest, another fellow Resolute member, Boomslangg. What's up, Boom? How are you, man?
What up? I'm good. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. So how's everyone's week been? Anything you guys been doing fun? Anything stick out to you?
Crazy busy.
Yeah, anything sticking out on you, Mana?
Things.
Depends on how cold it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that one.
So, been kind of a slow week in Destiny 2, but we got some stuff we're going to get to. They just dropped the TWAB, and that'll be fun. But first thing we want to do here is, since we do have another first-time guest, we want to get to know Boom a little bit. So, Boom says he doesn't like talking about himself, and I told him he was in the wrong place. That conversation actually happened.
I used to be good at talking about myself, but then I got kind of rusty.
I
just don't have to talk about myself. That works.
Right, yeah, that's why Triton doesn't come on, because he just doesn't like talking to us.
I don't like talking to Hove when I could just walk upstairs. It's just a waste of time.
So anyway, we'll start out. What was your first? How did you get into gaming?
How did I get into gaming?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get hardcore into gaming till probably 15, I'd say. I originally started out playing on my older brother's NES. I was playing Super Mario Brothers 3, actually 1, 2, and 3. A little bit of Contra, games like that. And then we moved on to Nintendo 64, more Mario, obviously. And then after that, I can't remember, went through a brief stint of not really playing any games. And then we got a PlayStation 2. And when we got a PlayStation 2, it was like, that's when it was like, oh, games everywhere. I look back on it now. It's like, how did I get so many games? And I didn't have a job. I had like hundreds of dollars worth of video, more than what I have now. But yeah, that's kind of where it started. And then I've, had a brief stint in PC gaming. I played Battlefield 2142. Played that in a clan. I actually played it competitively for a little while. That was a lot of fun. Battlefield is like where my heart is originally when it comes to like online gaming and stuff. Battlefield, I love it. I've actually been playing Battlefield 4 here.
I saw that on Twitter the other day.
It's
you went back to it? You've been playing it?
I've been playing it. I went back to it. It's so much fun. Like, it's just such...
I'm tempted.
It's authentic, genuine chaos fun. Like, there's nothing like it, really. And then, went from PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and then on to PlayStation 4. And then we go into Destiny, and that's where it all came together, really. That's when all the pieces, it all meshed. That's when everything clicked.
It was like the end of a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, exactly. When you're like, whoa, that's awesome.
Speaking of that, I just saw Dunkirk this week, which is really good if you haven't seen it.
I've heard that movie is amazing. I need to go watch it.
I heard good things. I really do want to see that.
There's one thing that they don't tell you in the previews. It's not a spoiler because it tells you at the very beginning, but if you don't pay attention, you get really confused. There's 3 different storylines. Okay. One takes place over a week, one takes place over a day, and one takes place over an hour. And they all end at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So, you see the same thing happen a few different times, and you're kind of like, what? As they start to cross? But
yeah. That's
anyway.
cool, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that does remind me of, a Call of Duty campaign where you have, several different characters, and, then one dies, and you're like, what?
Well, actually, that brings me my next question. You got it. You were big into Battlefield. You're big into Destiny. Call of Duty. Would you say you're a shooter first type of guy? Is that kind of your main type of game nowadays?
Definitely shooters first. I'd say shooters first, then RPGs, which is interesting because I really only got into RPGs in the last 2 or 3 years. I never really played them that much. I was never that. I just liked quick action and shooting people. But then when I finally was able to get more in depth with building characters out and customization and all the different things like that, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So now I love those kinds of games because to me, when I buy a video game, I want to get as much out of it as I can. And so when I buy an RPG, I'm like, okay, I pay $60 for this game and I'm going to play it, for at least 100 hours. So that's well worth the time and money to buy it because I don't have a whole lot of opportunities to jump from games to games to games. I don't really want to sit down and play one, beat it. It's kind of like a book, really. It's like, speaking of books, like The Witcher 3 is a perfect example of that kind of game because I've owned that game since launch. What is it? Is it 2 years old now? I think it's
2 years old.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
But I can go right back into that game and just get lost in it because it's just so good. So, definitely shooters. Shooters. Let's see. I played Battlefield Call of Duty. Didn't play a whole lot of Halo because I said I played PlayStation, but my
shame.
friends,
Me too.
my friends had Halo before you all judge me.
Hey,
My
no,
friends had
they
Halo,
give
and I
me
played it
shit
on
all the
there,
time.
which sucked even more because they were really good at it and I was really bad at it, and so I always die.
Halo's like my origin, man. That's how it all started with first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Unless you count GoldenEye for N64.
GoldenEye always counts. Yeah.
And then I just like your classic action games. Like I grew up playing a lot of Ratchet and Clank and games like that. So any kind of old school kind of shoot, what do they call those games? It's I can't remember.
They're just like adventure puzzle kind of games.
Platformers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I meant.
Well, that brings me to a question that isn't a normal one, but this could be a really long answer, but just a yes or a no. Now, I know you haven't, you've been off of Destiny for a little bit, and, it had its shortcomings and everything, but you were saying you really like to get the most out of a game. You want a game that you're going to pay for and feel like you got a lot out of it. Would you say Destiny did that for you?
Oh, definitely. By far, even with Destiny's shortcomings, it is by far my favorite game. Just simply because, and it's not even like the game itself, but it's the memories that come with it. Because when I joined Resolute, I was like the third or fourth member or something like that to join Resolute. So it was so awesome to see all these people coming together. And this was a year before it ever even came out, or more than a year before it ever even came out. So I was talking to Clawman and Plums and all these other people about this game that was coming out. And it was like when the very first trailer came out. So the game had changed a lot too.
Right.
By the time it actually came out. So just building that excitement with a group of other people, which is something that I've never really done. Like with Battlefield, I played it and then joined a clan. And this was before the game ever even came out. And so to build up that excitement, it was like, I was excited for it, but I didn't put it on a pedestal so high that I couldn't, that it was going to let me down. Like I played it and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of wish there was more to it. And yeah, there's, things here wrong, and stuff that it's not perfect, but the memories that you make with that, playing with other friends, pushing them off the cliff when you're standing at the edge of the vault of glass, and or standing there watching them, and then they just make it blow a jump completely, or you're standing on the bottom looking up, and then they jump and they're right on the edge, and then they fall straight down. Just the memories that come along that came with the game. That to me is what makes Destiny. It has some really good blueprints to the game, like the actual gunplay and things like that. But yeah, I mean, everyone agrees the story was like, what?
Right.
So, those kinds of things, I don't really put a whole lot of value on those things anymore necessarily. Like, yeah, content is good in a game, but the memories that go along with it, that to me is more important.
Yeah. Especially this one. We've talked on here a lot that with everything, whether it be story or raids or whatever, the core thing that's brought us all back and kept us playing Destiny is, the community, whether it be clan members in Resolute or just people we know outside. That's kind of the big thing with this game.
Yeah, it really is like a big family.
So Boom, kind of staying with games that had a lot of high expectations and didn't really live up to the hype in a lot of ways, and something you were involved with. The Division about a year and a half ago was supposed to be the game that everyone was going to jump into, either switch permanently or that was going to be kind of their break from Destiny. As someone who was exposed to both and played heavily, and I know you were really involved in like the early process of the Division and got like a reactions video, and I think, I don't want to misspeak here, but talk to some developers, things of that nature. What allowed Destiny to kind of keep going in year 3, and why did the Division fall out, much faster?
I think to me, when it comes to the Division, they had a really great thing going, and I can't speak for what was going on exactly, but they started messing with things more than what really needed to be messed with, when they just kind of needed to sit back and let the game do what it was supposed to. And this is interesting because when they first started patching it and doing all these things really quickly, I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm glad that they're, addressing these things really quickly and instantly, and Bungie takes forever to put a patch out or whatever. But now that looking back on it, as you say, hindsight's 2020, it was probably would have been better if they had waited several months before they would ever implement an update. That way they could get as much research, as much feedback as they could about these certain issues that were going on. And it's almost like they were trying so hard to be different from Bungie and Destiny and the way they put their updates and things out, that ended up, messing up their development process, because they would put fixes out so fast that they might fix this one particular issue, but then break 20 other things that made it even worse. And it was just like, slow down, stop and really dig into this. And then to me, things kind of started spiraling out of control, and it just wasn't the game I expected it to be when it first launched. That game has changed so much since its first launch that you almost have a hard time recognize it, because they're constantly changing all of these things. And to me, that wasn't fun. Once they started opening it up, basically having a public test server for all of the new updates coming out, that takes all the fun out of it. It takes the steam out of the hype train, so to speak. That's kind of what I have to say about that, other than Bungie was really quiet about what they were doing, and they took their time and they did everything they could to make things as balanced as possible without breaking everything else. I know they had like a lot of problems with their game engine being intertwined, and so they were afraid some things were going to break, all these other things, so they were really careful with it. And the Division, to me, that was their very first big AAA game. And I don't want to speak out of turns, because those guys are awesome, and I loved spending time with them and talking to them and things. But it's almost like they bit off more than they could chew when it comes to the overall scope of the game. And then eventually, over the course of basically a year, they finally kind of got it where it should have been. But it's too little, too late, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it
Took them too long.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that comparison, though, is really interesting, because when that first started happening, I think you saw a lot of people criticize Bungie for not doing too much and not making big changes and kind of riding it out. And everyone, even though the Division kind of came out and disappointed to a point, once they started saying, like, we're doing this and we're making these changes, everyone was really, like, on board with that as it was happening. And it's interesting to see how those two philosophies played out, from what people originally thought.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. I'm not sure it would have been the same with Bungie either. They're a much more experienced studio when it comes to large scale games like this, and Massive, they'd only made one other game, but had helped with several others. So I don't really know, the specifics with it. It could have been different if Bungie had done it faster, and they could have done it slower. I don't know.
Open this up a little bit more, and maybe pulling Mana in because of his origins with, Halo. Is that kind of something that Bungie's done historically, and is that why? There's so many people who have a lot of faith and goodwill into that Bungie's going to take their time. I know we're going to talk about the TWAB here in a little bit, to get things right, to make sure not everything is, breaking, not just push something quickly to satisfy everybody. Is that kind of goodwill and process they've built over time, is that, probably contribute to, I think, why we're so excited to talk about a game here that's, is still a month away from coming out?
So Halo, coming from Halo kind of, Bungie did it, and people were amazed right at the start. And building up to Destiny, D1, people still had that mindset, like, Bungie's never messed up, So they're going to make the perfect game. And, there's actually been a lot of games that came out recently that have been a little underwhelming. Destiny's campaign, like we already said, what happened? What are those characters? Where did they go? And stuff like that. But yeah, I think a lot of people said it. I'm not necessarily agreeing with it, but I'm gonna reinstate it. It's almost like Destiny 1 was kind of like the beta, and then they got things together, and now Destiny 2. All this hype still coming off of the Destiny 1 and all that. People that left, jumping back on the hype train, maybe hoping that this is it now. See, from Halo 1 to Halo 2, Halo 2 was just like, it was huge. Now everyone's just like, maybe Bungie will do it again. There's nothing wrong with the first Halo, though. It was still, amazing. They just made it better and better. Maybe Bungie will keep on doing that. Maybe, they're going to take what, happened in Halo 1 to Halo 2, Destiny 1, Destiny 2. That's why everyone's kind of crossing their fingers right now. And it's just like, for me, the beta was really reminiscent of the teamwork, like, style shooter that Halo was. Completely different. So I'm a little afraid though, because people, a lot of the players are going to have the mindset of D1 still. But I'm hoping just with their kind of reputation of doing things better and better and better, that Destiny 2 is still going to just take off, just skyrocket. I'm pumped. I'm super pumped, and I hope it really does.
Got that Pop-Tart partnership, of course, is going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
Well,
But sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying before we get too much into off track into Destiny 2 and everything, I wanted to finish talking about a few things with you, Boom. While we were on the topic of the division, we kind of discussed how it disappointed and kind of fell off, but it at least had some positives for you. From what I understand, you this isn't your first time podcasting.
I've done one or two before recently, or not too recently, but yeah. When the division first started coming out, I was in this weird stage of I want to talk about this game, but I don't really have anyone to talk about it in real life because my wife doesn't really care about video games, obviously. And all of my friends, I live out in the country, so most of them want to talk about like coon hunting or something like that. So I don't really have anybody at work to talk about video games. I said, YouTube. I'll just go to YouTube. That's where all the nerds are. I'll go there and talk to them. Nerds like me. And so one day I just said, all right, I'm going to start talking about the division. And literally no script, no nothing. I just pulled up my computer, looked up one of the most recent articles, hit record, and just started talking about it. And when people ask me when I was doing YouTube, it's like, how'd you get started? It's like, you just do it. You just make a decision. You just go for it. You don't sit there and be like, all right, you have to get everything perfect. You work the kinks out over time. So I started doing that, talking about the game, and I started to improve a little bit on, the recording aspect of it and being comfortable with it, because I've never had any public speaking classes, and it's all public speaking. Basically, you're not really talking to anybody, but you are in the same sense. So I went from there. I think I did that for 6 months, probably, off and on, because information for the game came out very sporadically. And then when information started to roll on a little bit more, I was like, I want to do a podcast. And me and a member of Resolute way back in the day, we did a few episodes. There still wasn't any information coming out, and things didn't really work out. So I stopped doing that, still kept doing YouTube a little bit slowly. And I think it was probably 10 months after I started. I'm not sure. I'm just like winging these numbers. I have no idea, really. It was a long time after that. Got together again and really developed an idea of a podcast. Got the idea, got the artwork, got the layout, how I wanted to do everything. We talked about it before. And that's when Rogue Agent Radio came into existence. And that was seriously probably one of the most amazing experiences when it comes to actually interacting with the community, because YouTube's fun and everything, but you're doing that by yourself kind of for the most part. But when you're together with a team like the podcast, like you guys do, you're working together with other people and interacting with other people as a group, as a team. And that's when things it almost started to skyrocket. I mean, just to kind of make a long story short, we got in contact with the developers and just, started talking with them. And then we talked, and then eventually the podcast got to be #1 on iTunes in video games. When we got that, we're like, we made it.
Not just the division.
Shut her down.
Video games, period, right?
Yeah, the video games, not podcasts in general, but video games.
Right.
We're like, all right, we're done.
Shut
her down.
That's impressive. Like, not like the #1
We
division.
win. Let's go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like, we've won podcast. We're done. To me, I mean, that I was on cloud 9 when I saw that. It was not. It was like, we're not that good. We're not amazing podcasters, but we're just genuine. We're not trying to put on a front or anything. We're not trying to push numbers, be like, come download this podcast. We're just like, all right, here's the division. This is what we talk about. It kind of helped that we were, one of the maybe 3 or 4 podcasts of the division, but besides the point, that, I mean, it was just an amazing experience. And the developers saw that and they wanted to, kind of show their appreciation. So I got to go to two E3s, and I got to go to their studio in Sweden to help them with their interactions with the community. They asked us for ideas and things, and then I got to go to Sweden, or not Sweden, E3 as a star player the following E3, which was also an amazing experience. Like that to me, I mean, to go from just talking about video games, getting 100 views, 150 views per video, to going to E3 and still not super popular. I think when I finally ended, I only had 13,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I can't remember how many downloads we had on the podcast, but it was nothing amazing. But it was all just the interaction with the community and being a part of it. I mean, and that to me was awesome. I always tried never to be like, oh, I'm so good. I did this and I did that. To me, it's like, thank you, everybody, for, listening to us and watching these videos and downloading these podcasts and stuff. Like they're the ones who did it. I just got to experience it. And, I almost feel kind of bad. Like no one else really got to experience it. And so I was like, I'll take pictures and record myself with videos and stuff, and maybe it'll be like the same. But yeah, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes I miss it, but man, working my other job, I'm an electrician in real life, and sometimes I'll go from jobs to jobs where I'm working 40 hours, and sometimes I'll go to jobs where I'm working 60 hours. And when you're working 60 hours and it takes you, 3 or 4 hours to make a video, and then, an hour and a half, 2 hours to record and edit a podcast, and you have a wife and 2 kids and stuff, it's like, I love doing this, but I love my family more. So that's where it was really hard to make the sacrifice to actually decide, all right, I can't do this anymore. Sometimes I catch myself thinking, maybe I'll make a video. Can't do it. I'll get sucked back in. But I really did enjoy it when it was going on. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten a chance to do anything like that, but even just recording and putting together the podcast is it's a lot of it's a lot more work than I think people think it is. It's a lot more work than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, oh yeah, we'll sit down, we'll bullshit for a little bit. Like, how hard is that? Yeah, that part's easy, but like,
dude, there's way more work than what people realize. Everyone's like, YouTube, that's not a real job. But then when you actually start to make the videos and stuff, it's, holy cow, I've got, how many hours worth of video. It takes hours to put this stuff into play and actually make it quality. I mean, anyone can record a video of them talking, then load it up to the internet, and then no one's going to watch it because it's crap. But yeah, putting time into it, it's hard work. I mean, it really, really is. If anyone out there is listening, YouTube it's no joke.
That's why I kind of stopped.
That's why I don't do it.
That's why I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's easier to stream and not edit.
Exactly. So yeah.
Well, Boom, staying with the hard work here for a second, because I love having other content creators on, having Man on now, and like having pretty much everyone on the podcast be a content creator in some form at some varying level. When you talk about getting into disseminating news, so one of the things I always think is just fascinating is how you kind of go about picking what you're going to cover for content creation, right? Because obviously you're to some degree at the mercy of what's coming out. So you were very quick to discuss the division, as you mentioned, only 3 or 4 podcasts. But when information only rolls out a couple times, you have to be first on, you have to be quick, and you don't know when it's going to happen. Can you walk us through the process of, how you went about getting that information out quickly? Because for a lot of aspiring content creators, that's important stuff to know is, how do you time those things, and, how much time did you have to spend to find that information?
With the podcast, it was a lot easier because the news would break, but then be like, okay, well, we can talk about this, on the podcast. It wasn't as time sensitive as like a YouTube video was. And that was what sucked about having a real job, or not a real job, but a job in real life, and then trying to do YouTube on the side, because I would be at work, and then everyone else who did YouTube for a living, they would have to put up the video. And sometimes it would be really discouraging. The only thing that I would do was just keep an eye on stuff and be like, okay, do I really want to even talk about this? Is this important enough to people out there to talk about this? And also, everyone has a different opinion. Everyone has a different take on how they're going to talk about the particular news bit that comes out, and everyone likes a different kind of personality. Like there could be 5 different YouTubers talk about the exact same thing, but I'm only going to watch one. or maybe 2 of them, because I like the way they display the news. I like their personality. I like how they go about talking about stuff, because some people's either their voice or their personality just kind of I don't like. I wouldn't say there's any like right way to go about getting the information. It's all about how you want to talk about it afterwards. Now, granted, you want to definitely get it within a day or two of whatever has happened, but people that like your content are going to watch your content. They will sit there and wait, which is actually surprising, because I would always get my stuff out a day or two later than everyone else would, but I would take as much time as I could to make it as quality and as clear and as concise as possible, with overlays and fonts and different things to, get the point across as clear as I possibly could. And then hopefully people would enjoy that. And actually people would say, "Oh, I've been waiting for this video. I'm so excited that you actually talked about this." So I don't want people to get discouraged by the bigger YouTubers who have more time to put into the videos and get them out sooner. Just stay focused on who you are, your personality, your brand, and roll with it. Like, just roll. You do you. I mean, that's what people watch anyone's channel for, in my opinion.
Triton with the hard-hitting questions.
Oh, geez, calm down.
So good. Anybody else got anything for Boom before we move into some Destiny 2 stuff? Oh, man. Triton, I thought, a couple weeks off, you'd have a couple more. Disappointed in you.
Well, I mean, I don't want to...
I'm getting used to talking about myself now. So.
Yeah, see? So that's good. All right. So, we're going to start, I think. We're going to go right into the TWAB Lego. I'm sorry. But it's been a slow week. After a bunch of weeks of IGN firsts and the console beta and everything, we had a week that didn't really have too much going on, but we did have a few small things. The biggest one, I think, being in the TWAB this week. They kind of gave us an idea of some of the things that they are going to have changed that actually most people will experience in the PC beta. And as far as I'm concerned, they all look pretty good. They're all things that we've discussed here that the community seemed to have asked for the most part. What do you guys think?
What's the list of things that they're changing specifically?
All right, so I skimmed through it. The thing that caught my eyes the most is the quick play versus competitive playlist now. And thank you for actually telling me that there is a TWAB like that I should read up on.
hey, Mana,
like,
we record
I go on
every
the DMs
Thursday.
And I'm just like, oh crap. Oh, yeah, maybe I should read up on this so I can join the conversation.
Yeah, we record every Thursday partially because there is a TWAB on Thursday. Just so you know.
But quick play versus competitive. So it seems like they're going to take skill-based matchmaking out of quick play and only keep it in competitive, which makes sense, does it not?
They're going to take more or less emphasis.
They're going to
less
be weighted
skill
as heavily.
on skill.
Yeah, which is something that was asked for.
But that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds really good to me.
Yeah, they specifically said shorter matchmaking times for quick play with less emphasis on skill. The fastest route to a game, but you may face opponents outside of your comfort zone, which is something that a lot of people asked for, frankly.
Yeah.
I still think that there should be... I don't want to get into that conversation, but it's going to less emphasis on skill, shorter matchmaking times, which, like I said, is something that was a big topic in the beta. And in that...
Sounding really good to me.
Yeah. In quick play, they also extended control from 75 to 100 points for more time to play and use your abilities. And because too many of the matches were shorter than Bungie expected, people weren't even able to get their supers. They've also extended the mercy rule, so it will come into play less often. Now, that's the changes to quick play.
And that coincides with the fact, we'll get into that, but like supers will occur more often anyways now.
Yes.
So it may feel more like Destiny 1 that most people seemingly enjoyed.
Hopefully, we'll be able to at least maybe 2 supers.
Exactly.
I get carried away.
Pushing it. Whoa.
I was so bad at supers, and whenever I do finally get one in the beta, I died.
Yeah, that was the worst part, when you do get a super, and, it happens sometimes, you pop one and get shut down. How terrible was that to play a whole game, pop your super, get Titan smashed, and you're like,
You
well,
just
what the
knew
fuck?
that was it. They're like,
Yeah.
there's my one time.
Mhm.
You know, it feels
I
bad,
stopped
man.
playing Hunter because I'd pop my super, run around, and then my super be gone. I was like, what?
Yes, that was it.
I didn't know
Oh.
Gunslinger had blink, and it's gone.
Literally. I
On
cried
the,
every time.
on the other side of that, on the competitive playlist, it's going to take more time to matchmake because it's going to introduce you to players that are closer to you in skill but with a good connection. These matchmaking settings may take longer, but we feel that the quality of the gameplay experience will be worth the wait. We've also made improvements to the way we calculate your skill in Countdown to better reflect how you'll perform against your opponents. And then they talk about there's an average rating of the team is taken into account. So, you know, if you have a really good player and a really bad player and a bunch of people in between, it should kind of even out
Level it
across
out.
the way.
Yeah, I would much rather wait and have good connection and the same skill than just throw you into a match and you've got all these red bars out there, because there's nothing more infuriating than fighting
At the
against
same
red
time, I
bars.
hope they don't take too long of time. So
Yeah.
you're just sitting there. I hope they don't have a system where you're sitting
All
there.
right, let's play
sitting
competitive.
there,
I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
And yeah, and then the game just like didn't find anyone. We're resetting the matchmaking. It's just like, I hope we don't
Yeah,
run into that a lot.
balance.
But
There needs to
that
be some
also,
balance.
yeah, that also sounds correct for competitive, quote unquote competitive.
Yeah. And I think it works well, too, not just in strictly the skill versus connection-based matchmaking, but even the times. You're okay, like we said, as long as it's not crazy, you're okay waiting a little bit to get a good connection
Definitely.
with skill. But on the flip side, it sounds like with quick play that it's going to just find some people with good connection, off you go. So it's
Yeah.
literally quick play.
Yeah.
That should make for some interesting matches. You get in there and you just steamroll some people, and you're like, "Oh crap, this team is destroying us."
So what do you, Boom? What did you think about that stuff in the? Did you played the console beta, correct?
I did.
What did you think about just that aspect of it? Did you notice the skill based matchmaking in quick play?
I noticed that as I started to get better, I started to get my butt handed to me a lot more. I started out playing it. It's like, oh, this is awesome. This reminds me of, D1 when I first started playing it. And then I played it a little bit more. My KD was really good. My KD was like 8. And then it was like 6. And then it was like 2. And then it was like 1.5. And if that's the example of skill-based matchmaking, that's when I started to notice it, because I started playing against other people that were much, much better than when I first started playing it. And in one sense, I like that because it makes you a better player. In the other sense, I like just getting on there and kicking people in the nuts and not having to worry about, getting my own butt handed to me. If they keep that in competitive, though, I think that's going to be perfect, because that's what people want in competitive. When you jump into quick play, quick play, to me, I just want to jump in and have fun. I don't want to get in there and be like, oh man, I got to get in here and I got to try to actually win. I got to, think about all my angles, think about all these corners, pre-fire, whatever I need to do. But when it comes, but now you can choose, okay, do I really want to get in here and compete, or do I want to get in here and just have fun for a little while, and whoever I match against, I match against. But I'm glad that they're separating it finally.
And we'll see how much, and I'm sure it'll still be adjusted, more in the future once they see how this plays out. But I'm happy that they seem to be including a lot of these things in the build that's going to be in the PC beta, so they almost get a second chance to...
I'm just happy they're acknowledging what we were complaining about for a long time.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing about D1 right now is... Man, I don't feel like sweating in trials. Let's go. Man, I don't feel like sweating in normal crucible. What do I do now? Like, there has to be some sort of playlist where you can not just find the best players in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But like Boom was saying, like after like the first day, then I just I didn't want to jump on the train of everyone calling out skill-based matchmaking, but the games were getting harder.
Yes.
I'm just like, man, what's happening? Like we're not just destroying people anymore. And then I started finding streamers that I know, and I'm just like, that guy's good. Those guys are good. There's triple wrecking. We matched triple wreck 3 times in one day in like a matter of like an hour or something like that. Like, what is this? And then everyone's on Twitter, skill-based matchmaking. I'm just like, I believe it now. And then they came out and said it. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah. I just wish I was good enough that I would match with triple rec. That'll never happen.
It was intense stuff. Let me tell you what. Actually, here's a question for you guys. We
Okay.
all played the Destiny 2 beta.
Yes.
What playlist did you guys actually feel like were more competitive? Sadly for me, the competitive playlist felt the most casual. Did you guys?
I didn't play competitive a whole lot, but I will say that the quick play started getting really sweaty really fast.
Oh,
yeah.
I was like, good grief. I was getting shot from above. I was like, where are these guys coming from?
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't even know you could do that.
In the competitive, for some reason, it felt like I could just chill back. And I don't know, it felt really less competitive than actual quick play. I don't know. Maybe it's just me and just like the people as well. It felt, I don't know, it felt completely different. I felt it was backwards. Hopefully, in this next beta, that'll be switched again. And it'll feel right, but I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I agree with you. Like, Control just felt, crazy. As you played some more, you started seeing people you recognized and stuff like that. But I think part of it, too, is with it being a beta and a brand new game, you had a lot of people going into competitive just to see what it was like that normally wouldn't play something like competitive. And not only that, but even people who are coming from Destiny 1, Control is a known quantity. People knew how to play Control. It's, for the most part, it's Clash in the sense that you just got to go kill people and then stand somewhere. Not to downplay Control, and I don't think a lot of people knew how to play the objective yet in Countdown. So there was a lot of, like you said, you could sit back because you just had people like, oh, look, there's no one standing on that thing. I should just run right up to it. And, Mana's just sitting back there, like, waiting for him, and then he snipes him in the face, or, whatever it may be. So
Just wait for the fusion rifle.
Yeah. And so I think that probably played a part in it, that people didn't know what they were doing quite as much, and you had some people that wouldn't play those modes quite as much.
I guess it was a new concept to Destiny. Like, pretty much every game had, like, a search and destroy type deal, but then Destiny is just like, oh, gosh, what is this? Like, not only do you have, like, it's elimination, but you also have an objective at the same time. I guess maybe it's just all new. Everyone was super hesitant in how to play.
To a point, I'm not saying that that's completely everybody there, but I think that probably swayed.
I mean, that's the first thing I picked when I went into PvP. I was like,
so do we.
I know what this is.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. And then I joined it in the very first match. I went 9-0, and I was like, I like this, And then the next match, I was like, oh. No, I'm gonna go try this other one.
I think I'm with Hove on that for sure. I mean, the fact that it was kind of everyone would maybe just give a lot of things a try in the beta as opposed to normally they probably wouldn't go into competitive. But I think for me, and we're talking about new, the difference between 6s to 4s, and I didn't play a lot of like sweats or something where like 4s was something I even attempted to do. So, and like the team aspect that you mentioned earlier, Mana, that a lot of people, Hobie was on talking about like the need for team fire. Like for me, it was harder just because you couldn't do some of the same things. So I wasn't always, as I was playing, I'm like, is this more competitive, or it's just like the completely different strategies for what I was used to playing in like Destiny 1, where like winning one-on-ones you could be okay. I just never seem to find too many of those, and it was just kind of a different style of play with less people on the map. And so I think I spent more time, having not played it for a ton of days, maybe just 2 or 3 days, and just probably 2 or 3 hours, like trying to get my head around like the team fire concept and more of that than it was. I didn't really notice if it was much more competitive because it just didn't seem the same to me. But that I didn't play it as extensively as maybe other people.
Yeah, I guess it was rough, kind of, wrapping around your head how like different the situations were. Like in D1, you can kind of go off on your own and be really successful, where in D2, it takes a little bit more to kill someone, and it takes a while for your health to come back. So if you do get these situations where you get a good flank, but then you're not really that successful, you have to run, you're kind of out of the situation. You're kind of out of the firefight for I don't know how long it was. I'm not necessarily sure, but it felt like an eternity.
It was about
like
to hide.
I timed it. It was about 3.5 years.
I was gonna say it was like a couple hours.
Yeah,
I actually the first game I got shot a few times and I was real weak, and by like about the second to last day of the beta after the extension, I hit full health again and I was able to go back to that fight. But no, I should have noticed the whole skill thing. Like I wasn't thinking into it that much. I mostly was playing it to just see how gunplay and everything felt. But I think it was the first night I was playing with Claw and some other people, and we were probably...
That was me and Lego, but cool. Other people.
Was it? I don't remember, man.
Yeah, it was.
I was playing with these weird guys. They were really forgettable.
It was like it was literally me,
I've
Lego,
never
and
played
Claw.
with these guys before. And
Wow,
I can't really
first
remember
day.
their name.
We like planned it out a week in advance. Can't remember. I hate you. Go on with the story though.
So we were like probably, 5 or 6 games in, which now is when people are like, oh, that's when your skill-based matchmaking really starts to kick in. And after that, all of a sudden, we're like, oh, hey, look, it's Apollo and Apollosaurus and some of his friends. And then we matched him 3 out of the next 4 games.
Yeah, it started to get like that.
We were like, oh, that's weird.
Fishy.
But we also weren't sure because Lego was the host, and he lives near Apollo.
That's true.
We couldn't figure it out at that point, but...
All I remember is those other guys you played with, they were pretty good. I was just saying, like the other guys. I mean, I don't know, with Hove and Claw, but those other 2 guys were pretty good too.
Moving on. No, it was pretty cool though. Besides that's one thing, but the other things that they talked about being fixed are mostly glitches. The infinite super glitch, the warlock slide glitch, infinite grenades glitch. Warlocks now have the same melee range as all other classes. And so those ones were obvious, but the other things they tweaked were all things that, even though they said some of them they already kind of had an idea they were going to do it, they were all things that were brought up by the community. Like, they listened pretty much right away. Increased or globally reduced the time it takes to charge your super.
Right.
And they said this was a big change that came directly from your feedback during the console beta. So as Triton said earlier, that's also going to go into effect and kind of, in addition to the extra time, the extra score and control should help you get a super a little bit easier, maybe twice a game if you're having a good game. And then increased grenade damage in PvE and increased power ammo drops in PvE. And those are definitely all things that I heard loud and clear from people on Twitter after and during the beta. So I'm pretty happy with all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it was pretty blatant that those things needed to be addressed. So it's good to see that was the first thing that they took care of. It kind of harkens back to what we're talking about with the Division, where they had all these things that were going on. Everyone's like, "Oh, fix this," and they're like, "Oh, fix it," and they patched it or whatever as quick as they could. But when it's something that's obvious, like very obvious, there was hardly any power ammo. I think I did 2 or 3 strikes, and I saw power ammo drop like maybe once, maybe twice per strike, and I was like, "Whoa, what's the point of even having a power weapon if you don't ever get to use it?"
That was one of my first complaints. Was like, am I ever going to be able to use my shotgun or sniper? Yeah, I kind of want to.
Right, and then in multiplayer, you're playing Control. And I was like, all right, I get to use the Sentinel, and then I summon it and I got my shield, and then the match is over. I was like, what the heck? I was like, I didn't even realize there was like 5 seconds left. Or you're, summon your super, and then you're like running around frantically trying to find anyone to kill. And if, you're a gunslinger, it's over.
Yeah, you don't even get to get frantic. You don't have that much time.
You have to crowd surf. You have to literally jump in the enemy team to use your golden gun.
You start shooting like crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's why you got fanfare. He's around here somewhere, I swear. Radar never lies, right?
I think in these as well, and it happened in Destiny 1. I think particularly the one that stands out for me is remember when they put shotguns really amazing in PvE, and then you could just destroy every boss with multiple shotgun hits to the head. But and they PvP they kept it the same. I do hope this sets the precedence as one of the first fixes, even though it's the beta, that the separation of PvP and PvE, that they will think about those things and consider those things as we move forward into the actual game. So I actually, from that aspect, think that not only were the updates necessary, but just that little hey, for PvE, we recognize this, and we also didn't change this for, PvP, so grenades aren't going to be stupid. So, they've done it before, so hopefully that kind of continues a trend if that needs to be the case. So that's what I was actually excited for when I read those.
I'm really hopeful that will continue to happen, because the way I heard how they're coding things now are separately and not bunched together in groups
spaghetti
of
code.
yeah, pretty much all the weapons, all the shotguns in D1 are pretty much every time something gets nerfed or buffed or all together instead of just that one weapon or one ability. I'm guessing what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding is in D2 everything is its own unique coding now, so they can tweak it how they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were just saying, I really hope they take PvE versus PvP, just separate cases and kind of words and things. I'm doing some sort of motion. You see this?
Yeah, for anyone who's
that makes
listening,
total sense when you do it like this. If you didn't use your hands, I
Mana
would
kind of
understand.
looks like he's raising the roof a little bit, maybe. While
A
he's
little.
talking about this, yeah. But no, I think we're all in agreement that it's nice to see them. Even though we discussed the division, maybe like you said, being a little too quick, it's nice to see that these were all things that everybody really kind of thought, hey, these need tweaked at least a little bit, and they're doing it, which is it's what a beta's for.
Exactly.
And it's also things that aren't like super major. It's timing. It's not really adjusting the power and how something functions completely. It's just okay. We increase the time on the matches a little bit, increase the cooldown of the super a little bit, and that kind of smooths everything out. It's not, oh, we need to increase this damage by 2.1%, reduce this one by 0.9%, and then we'll see what happens.
0.004 auto rifle damage.
Yeah. Woo.
So it'll be cool too. I think it's going to be kind of beneficial to them really to have a second beta. I know things play different on PC versus console, but as far as like damage in grenades and how long you get your super, that's something they can test across the board. So it'll be interesting. I know, Mana, you're going to play the PC beta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The other guys, neither of them are going to play. Those other guys that I played with that one time, they're not going to play the PC beta. How about you, Boom? Are you gonna mess with the PC beta at all?
I might have to rob my brother's computer, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm slowly. What did we say? What level am I now? Like where I'm not like a raw potato anymore. I'm kind of like maybe like a half baked potato.
Maybe like thrown in the microwave potato, not really like fully like
a nuked potato.
Yeah,
a nuked potato. Almost to the point of
edibility.
McDonald's French fries, like
McDonald's French fries are pretty high up there, man.
Really? I don't like
you don't
them.
like McDonald's French fries?
Maybe it's got Wendy's and Arby's are just so much better,
I mean, that's the only thing that's better at McDonald's, but their French fries are.
I don't know. Maybe it's the McDonald's around me. Maybe they're underwhelming compared to other places, but
you get the waffle fries.
Waffle fries. Oh yeah, we did. Like sometimes we peek up to waffle fries. Some of our plays. Other than that, we're washed off, maybe thrown in the microwave potatoes.
Like a frozen bag of like Red Robin steak fries.
Yeah.
Like
I love these analogies.
Yeah. I don't know how this started one day, but it turned into we actually did a like what's the best kind of French fries poll, and I don't know.
Really?
You didn't see that?
I'm just glad. I think I gave you shit about that, but I think I'm glad that Wendy's kind of kicked like this sea salt and kind of went back to like a little bit of a blend of the older ones, like the steak fries and like whatever it is newer. I don't feel like it's like the same like mostly skin of the potato plus a bunch of sea salt. I wasn't really a big fan.
You're getting a little too involved here.
I'm just saying like Wendy's is getting like a better.
Then you
blend.
could tell it was a real potato, and you weren't eating like mystery food.
I mean that potatoes. I could have done with, but like the sea salt, I just wasn't.
They kind of went overkill on their salt a little bit. It's like,
yeah, there was definitely. Yeah, I agree. I thought maybe it was just around here.
Then the best is when the person that putting the salt on your fries just like douses it, and then you're just like, well, what do I do with this? I really want to eat these fries, but
each French fry, you're like,
I know.
Do a little shake. We play Destiny. We get enough salt as it is.
Exactly. We don't need this.
All right. One other thing did come out either yesterday or the day before. The new Destiny 2 official competitive multiplayer trailer. Looked pretty intense.
Pretty cool.
I think one of the things that everyone noticed, though, and let's see what you guys think about this, is there was a lot of really fast kills. The time to kill seemed sped up quite a bit from the beta. Thoughts?
Marketing. Just to make it quick, in my opinion. Because when you say that, that reminds me of a Black Ops 3 trailer, and they were killing guys in like 2 shots. It wasn't really like that in the actual game. The kill time was like 2.5 shots. But to me, I think it was probably just sped up a little bit just to make it, snappy for they can jump between scenes and things.
The thing that everyone seems that, and I think makes the most sense to me, because there was one instance in there where Wilson in chat pointed out that's somebody body shot someone else with a sniper and it did 300 damage. So I think the prevailing theory is some sort of light level enabled mode where they dropped light on some people to kind of.
I was going to bring that up, or I think there's a couple things to where you see one of the players shooting with a weapon and you see the damage modifiers saying something, and then the next person they go up to, it was higher damage being taken off, and it's just like, what is going on here? Maybe they had some weapons that had damage modifiers on it and doing something just to increase some damage to keep the flow.
Well,
I don't know.
I would like that, and I've talked so much about liking sniping and wanting it to be a little faster, but goddamn, if there's gonna be a body shot 300 damage sniper, I'm out. That's a little ridiculous. But no, even like I know there was at least one melee where the guy had like 3/4 shield, and he like meleeed him, kind of gave him the warlock hand, he just died. And I was like, wow, melees don't do that anymore. So
yeah,
whatever it was, I think Boom's right. Marketing type of thing.
Marketing. They staged some things to make it look.
I mean, let's be honest. The trailer looked badass.
Oh, it looked.
It was a great trailer.
It got me pumped.
Yeah.
To me, it actually had kind of a Call of Duty vibe to it with how quick it was.
It really did.
And action packed. I was like,
that's what I got.
Activision. They know how
got
to market.
just this one guy's point of view, just destroying a whole team and then jumping in with the super and destroying them again. It's just like, I didn't get that off from the beta. Like,
when I saw the guy jump over everyone with that gun and shoot him from behind, it's like, yeah, I would have died about mid-jump right there.
Yeah. It's like, I would have gotten team fired right around the first corner.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or maybe they did tweak a lot of things. And but it's probably marketing tweaking, maybe some damage modifiers in there after doing certain whatever. But it was interesting.
Here's the real question, though. Would you want it to be a faster time to kill? Like, is that something that people want? As do we like the team-based, team shooting that forces you to kind of stick with other people, or do you want it to be more like, take?
That's a hard question.
I'd hate it if the maps are designed for like teamwork. Now, this comes from like probably the least casual or the most casual of the four of us. But if it's still designed that like team fire is super important, I definitely wouldn't want a shorter time to kill. Although maybe that's the product of the fact that there is a long timer kill.
I was going to say, did team shot become so important because, So,
well, I mean, I kind of like the Destiny 1 feel. I liked being able to go one-on-one a little bit more. Yeah. So I would, if it was faster, it wouldn't bother me.
I think
it was really fun being that one guy that can just kind of take out a whole like squad of 6.
Right.
If you're like playing your cards right. But at the same time, it was really fun being team oriented, like out shooting people with your team, like, or when you did find that 1v1, you had to work a little bit harder, I feel, with your weapons,
and you had to really pay attention to who was around. If there was if you saw one person coming at you and you got the first shot on him, but then there were more people behind him, you had to think, all right, am I going to commit to this guy and try to kill him, or am I going to run and try to find my teammates and then come back? But to me, I don't even know if I could give an answer whether I would want it to be quicker or stay where it's at, because like Mana said, it is fun to actually utilize your team. You actually move as a team to, kill these people, because if you go out by yourself, unless you're, fighting some people who have no idea what you're doing.
Have like a power weapon or you're intending to use going off on your own really doesn't help a lot nowadays. It was
back to the team
super
stuff.
risky.
My teammates didn't know my name, so I was just like, no, doesn't help with teamwork. Sorry, man.
Personally, it's hard because there's no way to just say for them to just go, oh well, let's just decrease time to kill 0.05 seconds. There's no just magic button that does that. But I think I would be interested to see what it's like being a little bit faster, because in year 2 and definitely year 3, nobody ever accused primaries of being too strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the big problem with really fast time to kills and being able to do a lot of the lone wolf and some of the carries and stuff was special ammo and supers, both of which have gotten severely toned down, right?
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to see if the time to kill on kinetic and elementals being, or kinetic and energy being pretty much primaries was a little bit faster, because it seems like they went, all out with that change. Take away supers to a point, take away special ammo to a point, slow down the time to kill. I feel like I would have liked to have seen it with them going one way or the other and see what it does, but I don't hate it. I don't want them to go making huge changes. I think it'd be interesting to see.
At the same time, the map that we got for control, at least control, the time to kill was slower. Everything was slower, but the map seemed to be really well made for 4v4. It was small enough, not too big, small enough, and the timer when you die, the respawn timer was quick enough to where, honestly, the action kept on flowing constantly. There was just constant battles.
Yeah.
So I'm still super conflicted on what I feel right now. I don't know if those couple days were enough for me to actually have a fair judgment. Because I was having fun, but at the same time, I do miss lone wolfing. But at the same time, there's just like I said, just constant action still. I feel like it was more fast paced than old Destiny, less ability spam. But at the same time, it's just you couldn't really 1v1 very well to really put a good, perspective. I don't know. It's strange. It's I can't really explain it. I'm like, really, it's fun, but I miss it. But it's really good, but I really do miss it. But
yeah, the more I think about it, because when the skill-based matchmaking started to come into play, one person could kind of make a difference in those first 1 to 3 matches, but then afterwards, unless you work together as a team, you're dead. I mean, if you had another team that knew what they were doing, you would get absolutely steamrolled. So it would be kind of nice, maybe, if I could see the time to kill being a little bit slower. So if you did have someone who was doing really well, who was on a hot streak, they could kind of turn the tide a little bit of the match. Not, to the point where it's, Call of Duty time to kill, but something that would allow you, all right, you could take on 2 people if you played your cards just right. Because I found myself in gunfights where I was going to kill this guy, or I did kill this person, but I couldn't get away because another guy hopped up on the corner, or 2 other people found me, and I couldn't run away in time. I killed the one dude, but I died so fast afterwards that it didn't really matter in the end. And that, to me, that was the most frustrating, was shooting one person in front of me, but then getting blindsided by this guy who had time to run halfway across the map before I shot this other guy and killed him. That's the only situation where I think that a quicker time to kill would improve the experience a little bit.
Another improvement that I've been thinking of ever since the beta was you just crank up healing. I think healing would make it a lot easier, because it just takes forever, man. But if you can just crank it up just a little bit, so you can take maybe a guy out, run around the corner, chill for a couple moments instead of hiding until like your whole team comes the whole reinforcement comes in. Just and then you can go back in, or you can flank or something. But it just feels like I feel like that would improve it.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm wondering, though, because I think that was kind of another thing that was as universally talked about as some of the other ones that they changed immediately. I'm wondering if that's something that they know already, like, hey, the armor, that armor didn't have full perk. You can get more, your recovery will be higher in the base game. There's perks that'll change some of that stuff. That's just a guess. Another wait and see thing, but it seems like that was talked about just as much, not as seriously, but I think it was brought up just as much as like the supers and stuff like that, but they didn't address it at all. So I'm wondering if they already kind of, had a plan for that's happening.
Maybe. Yeah, we just got low tier and everything for armor and all that, so you might get a bit more OP, I guess, as that time goes on. You get better armor from like the raids or the strikes and stuff.
Right.
So it could be, yeah.
I mean, I could also be making that up, and you're going to have to run around for an hour to get your health back. I don't know. How long did you say it was, Boom? You timed it about 3.5 years?
3.5 years, yeah. Okay. Exactly. Right, well, approximately, yeah.
Give or take a year.
Approximately, exactly.
Well, Boom, anything else, since this is the first time we've really gotten to talk to you about it, is there any other big takeaways that you had, good or bad, from the beta?
It's really pretty. And I think what struck me the most when I first played it was the story mission and just how it felt like an actual legitimate story that I was excited to learn more about. You play
First
through it.
mission was so good.
Yes, there's so much action going on, and then you actually get to see, Zavala and all these other people. And when Akora jumps and Nova bombs that jet, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" These people can actually do something besides sit around a
Stand
table
there and boss you.
and boss you around, and give you some stuff every once in a while. And then you actually see, raw emotion come out. And you're like, oh heck, this has actually got a story. This is something that's cool. And then you get to the end, and Gaul, I was like, oh man, this guy's badass. This guy's cool. And then he kicks you off the edge or whatever. It's like, okay, that alone sold me. And the things that they've been talking about, how they hope people complain about how much story is actually in the game. I'm like, all right, this is this. I really believe that this will be their breakout with Destiny. Like, Destiny was already an amazing selling game, popular. Everyone, had a great time with it. Had some major Achilles heels when it comes to story and stuff. And to me, I feel like they have learned from all those mistakes and are going to improve on everything. Because to me, everything felt better than it did in Destiny 1. Yeah, there were some balancing things, but it was a beta too. So you can't really say like, oh, this game just sucks, But I just feel like they've taken everything that Destiny 1 was, tweaked it, and have improved it a little bit. Like, I even like the way the weapons are laid out now, because now, like, I hardly ever got shot by a shotgun, other than when I got power, when people had power ammo. But then when I got shot by a shotgun, I was like, yeah, I deserve to get shot by a shotgun. I should have known this person had it, where he was and stuff, because you've got all the call outs and things. And now, I felt like whenever I made a mistake, especially in PvP and stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, that's where I messed up. I could own up to it. Where Destiny 1, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not playing this game anymore. I was more, now I could admit where I had made the mistake, where in Destiny 1, I was not necessarily so quick to admit where I made a mistake. I just blamed the game.
Going to suck on stream trying to blame something, and now everyone's going to be calling you. I was like, Amanda, I told you right there in the bottom left corner. You had that such and such. And like, no, shut up, chat.
How'd that guy have his super already? Well, man, Ed said he had it for 3
something,
rounds.
I can't explain.
Yeah, definitely the story, because Destiny PvP was never my favorite part about it, because I was never really good at it. So the PvE part was that's where all the memories were made for me, the good memories at least. And to see the story and the worlds just expand and have so many things to do, and then the open worlds, now you're going to have all the lost sectors and the people to go and talk to, and they're going to give you quests, and you actually get to interact with these stories, and the fact that they have, what I feel like they've kept tons and tons of stuff secret. Like, we know a decent amount about the game, but I feel like we don't know anything about the game overall. I feel like there's so much that, that they're hiding, which I'm glad. I don't want to know. Like, honestly, they could go completely dark right now and I would be happy. Like, I don't really want to know anything more.
Same.
I don't want them to say anything more. You can throw us a few more trailers, get us hyped, and then shut her down, and then launch the game, and then let everyone else just be like, oh, I didn't even know this was going to be in here,
Actually, that's what I would like more, honestly. I would like them just to stop with all information.
I'm mostly
that
happy,
way more.
though, they haven't really mentioned or shown anything about the raid.
Yeah.
Because,
There is one. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they didn't say, where it's going to take place, really, obviously Earth somewhere, I would assume. But, it's not like, oh, we're going to go fight to get the tower back or whatever. We know nothing, which I think is great. One of the biggest things, Wrath of the Machine, they showed you, one of the coolest parts. The Death Zamboni needed to jump off that giant cliff. And we were like, oh my God, that's badass. But, then you get to it and you're like, oh yeah, this death
I saw
somebody's
this.
chasing me, but I already know I have to jump because I saw it 3 months ago.
They did that with every raid, didn't they? They overly hyped it to the point where they revealed certain things I feel like would have been better if you just go in it and just be like, "What the deuce is this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of like, "There it is, I finally got here."
Yeah, I mean, definitely to a point.
I've
Vault,
seen that before.
Vault, there was so much to it, and we knew nothing about raids that I don't think it mattered as much. But I think they were also kind of put in a situation where, we know they fell behind on content. There were dry spells. Everyone was upset about it. And it's like they needed to bring people back in.
Right. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and they knew, like, we have to show something. You
Right.
know? And that kind of is where it came from. And it's a shame that it took that, but, it did. And this time I think they know. Because like you were saying, there's a lot of hype. This is going to be their big one. That's another thing that happened this week. They had the, I guess, Activision earnings call, and they said that Destiny 2 pre-orders are outpacing, I think far outpacing the original Destiny pre-orders, and more people played the beta than played the Destiny 1 beta.
Is that like when you say like, does that count the PC ones in there, or do they say like just
it's
like
just
in
total pre-orders.
Okay.
So, I mean, depending on how you want to look at it, technically there were 4 consoles originally.
That's
now
true.
you have 2 consoles and PC. So you may call that a wash. I don't know.
That's probably fair.
But, I mean, it's still impressive, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, the last thing in the TWAB is just a little clarification on some of the stuff with the streaming restrictions that they talked about and caused a lot of strife.
Panic.
Yeah, a lot of panic is good word. Just briefly, they clarified that it won't just be the beta; it will be full release. That these restrictions take place. Destiny 2 on PC will include its own in-game FPS counter, because I guess that was one thing that was going to be somehow restricted as an overlay type of thing. It will have the ability to specify a frame rate upper limit, and OBS, XSplit, and such are able to still stream, just using different supported modes, which I think we kind of covered this mostly on here, but some people were still a little bit confused. Communication apps like Discord and Mumble will still work, except for the overlay of their UI in the game. So you can still use them to talk, you just can't use an overlay. So I don't think they put out anything that was groundbreaking this time. They just kind of clarified. The only thing that may be a little bit important here, for anybody that had issues with orphaning their account when trying to link their Blizzard account, they now are going to support a form of account recovery. If players lost access to a BNet account through the account linking process, we'll offer a means of recovering and relinking, yada, yada, yada. So there is a link in there to check that out. So nothing crazy, but I think a couple things to at least clarify what they were talking about and kind of calm people down a little bit.
Didn't affect me a whole lot, so I was like,
Yeah.
I wasn't too worried. But that's
still haven't.
casuals over here.
I still haven't made a Blizzard account.
I have done that. Man, how do you stream PUBG? Do you use game capture?
I use my OBS and I just capture my monitor, which honestly confused the crap out of Nava. And I was like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, "I do these." Like, he's like, "What?" I'm like, "I don't know." It's the first thing I found, so I went with it.
Yeah, and so the only one that's actually blocked is game capture. So you don't have an issue at all. So
Right.
you're good. And people kind of made a big deal out of it, and I still see some people going, "Well, window capture takes more resources." Well, I mean, Bungie's going to cater to the 99% who might be affected by cheating rather than the 1% who stream. So I can't blame them.
Game capture instead of window capture for PUBG. Maybe it'll actually help my frames. I don't know.
I use game capture. So I will have to change to like window capture for D2, but whatever. I'm not that worried about it.
Not that bad. It's not that bad, and it's practically the same thing. I don't know if it uses more resources or not, but I don't find any.
Yeah,
lazy or anything.
I'm not endorsing that. I have no idea. I've just heard that before. Anything else from the TWAB anybody wants to touch on? All right. Well, we have a couple. I saw a couple questions here in chat. If you guys want to throw any in there, whether it be for Boom or us or Triton or since nobody knows anything about him. And we'll pull a couple from Twitter here, but
Well, my own co-host doesn't know my name, so that's a start right there.
Rezo Maverick asks, Boom, if you and Doom were to have a love child, would it have your looks and his voice, or vice versa?
Depends on who the father is.
Huh.
Good answer.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I'll
let everyone else to kind of determine that in their own mind.
And then Cal's made sure to put it would look and sound exactly like you, Mav. So I don't know.
It works for me.
I don't know what we're saying here. I feel like Mav's probably older than you though, isn't he?
Older than me? I think probably just about everybody here might be older than me.
Well,
maybe
Triton's older than everybody.
We're the same age.
I don't know. Me and Mana might be close to the same age.
I think we're the same age, yeah.
How old are you?
When I first joined, I thought I was the youngest. I'm 26. I just turned 26.
Okay.
Well, that's why Rally and I are such
I'm
good
younger.
friends. When I joined, I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be the oldest person in this video game clan. And then I met Rally, and I was like, I got to cling to him.
I turned 26 in 11 days, so.
Oh. Well, happy early birthday.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Now, I know there was something else in chat that I was looking for, and now I can't find it. It was a good question, and I don't know where it is.
Whoever had the good question,
It
post it again.
It was River Tamcat, I believe, and now I can't find it.
I'm
I
looking.
blame Triton. This is normal.
Here's a question.
Ooh.
Going back to your old Battlefield days. So you were a fan of Battlefield 4? Was that Battlefield 3 versus Battlefield 4? Which one did you like more?
Personally, I like Battlefield 4 a little bit better. And that was after they patched it when it first came out because, or like the servers and stuff. Yeah, because the servers were kind of a nightmare after the first few months. But afterwards, it's Battlefield 3 with just more stuff, and more polished. And there were things about Battlefield 3 that I kind of like, I liked a lot of the maps, really, in Battlefield 3. They had really, really good maps. But Battlefield 4 was just better, in my opinion. I loved it.
I agree with that. Battlefield 3 plus more stuff after they patched it because the release was it was rough. So how about Battlefield 4 versus Battlefield 1?
I do not like Battlefield 1. I didn't even buy it. I have the
really?
I played the beta, but I was like, this is World War One. I was like, this is not cool at all. Where's my T-90 tanks? Where's my Abrams? Where's my jets? Where's my machine guns? I was like, this is
fun,
just not.
It wasn't. It was rough, like coming from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. It's just like,
I just like the classic Battlefield. Like, I would go with World War II, because I played 1942. I would freak out if they made a Battlefield 2140. I guess 3 is what 2142 2. I don't know what they would call it.
Right?
But it wasn't like it wasn't like it wasn't like Call of Duty futuristic. It was like, regular Battlefield, but with a few futuristic looking things and a few like escape pods that would shoot up onto the Titans. And just the Titan mode in Battlefield 2142 was awesome. They tried to do that in Battlefield 4. But it was like
commander mode or whatever it was.
The naval assault or something like that, where you go to the carrier. It wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they did 2142 again, dude, I'd freak out. That game was so awesome.
Battlefield Bad Company 2. If they somehow,
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah,
we're just reminiscing. He brought up Battlefield really early on.
I'm just saying I never played Battlefield, any of them.
I spent a lot of time in Battlefield.
Fun.
Because after like Halo and Call of Duty, then Call of Duty kind of dropped off. I was like, man, I really like military shooters. And then Bad Company was my first one.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Bad Company is good.
This is really good.
I loved Bad Company. Just the fact that it kind of switched and changed paces a little bit and went to the more comedic, shoot. It reminded me of some of the old like World War II movies, like Kelly's,
or just action movies,
whatever. Yeah,
back in the day, where it was a run and gun, and then you had the badasses that were kind of comical amongst each other.
Yeah,
like it was really good. And I read up they're afraid to redo it. They have so many requests of redoing, like remastering Bad Company 2, but they actually like released, I guess, they're like, we don't really know what made it so good.
Yeah,
we don't know how to do this without messing up.
It would be cool if they would remaster it and bring it up to PS4. I would play that so hard.
I would buy that in an instant, dude.
I would too. Be awesome.
It's awesome. So I did find River Tamcat's question. She was also nice enough to repost it. But it was for everybody. Were there any mechanics from the beta mission or the strike that you could see being in the raid?
Yes.
I didn't play the strike.
Neither did
You didn't play the strike?
so-
You guys, I'm the PvP player, and I played the strike at least a couple times.
Lego played it a bunch.
How
Lego's
about you,
not
Boom?
here.
Am I the only
If you want
person
to
that
edit
played
your
it?
answer into here, Lego later on, you can.
I think we'll see a lot of those little pipe shooter things.
Yeah, like they have the things where you have to shoot. Was that in the first mission at the end where you had to jump over the whatever gears and shoot the core or something?
That was in
Was
the
that-
mission, yeah.
Yeah, that was in the
mission.
That was
mission.
in the first mission.
And I don't understand why people complain about that being so hard. I
No.
never died. I never died.
I
during
died
it.
like 15 times.
Yeah.
Died like 7 times.
I mean, I
Yeah.
died once or twice because I
I-
just wasn't sure like which part I could step on, but that's fair. But then I
okay.
figured it out, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, don't step there. Like,
Yeah.
Most of it was me being on a warlock and me being bad at jumping with a warlock. I don't know what it is, man, but I am bad with warlock jumps.
Yeah.
But I really hope they do take some of those mechanics like that. Like in the strike, you had the big crane that were just kind of, or not the crane, but the drill,
Yeah.
the mining thing that was swiveling around. So you had to dodge top, then there was the bottom while you're fighting in between that. I actually
Mhm.
saw just like NPCs getting whipped by it too. It
Yeah.
actually carried me away and then slammed me into a wall and murdered me. I was just like, okay. But things like that were actually really cool. That make whatever you're doing much more immersive.
Mhm.
Just randomized chaos, you know?
Right.
So I
Stuff that
really hope.
involves- stuff that involves more like a mixture of platforming with fighting other enemies than just okay, go to this place, fight 2 waves of enemies, then fight another wave, and then fight the boss. It's like okay, go to this place, dodge all these other things, hop from here to here, shoot these people, and keep moving. That to me would be awesome.
It was like in the very first raid in D1, the Vault of Glass, they had the maze, which the Gorgon maze, was it? Gorgon Lair or something like that?
Yeah.
yeah.
Where you had these really OP creatures lurking in this maze. I kind of wish they would have brought that back in one of the other raids. I really liked that.
Yeah.
It gave you a sense of like fear almost. He's like, I can't let this thing, like I don't want to
Yeah.
be that guy to cause us to, restart. It was pretty cool.
Chat
do those
seems
sort of
convinced
things.
here that the big drill is
drill
Bungie
is-
2's dick wall.
Yeah. I think Hovey pushed me into one. I think Hovey was about to get hit by it, dropped down, then it continued to push me into it, and then I just got flung all the way back. I'm just like, wow, okay, so you really don't want to touch that drill. And even the boss at then. The boss at then was pretty neat. Like you got 3 different layers, like 3 different tiers of the boss. Like you're fighting him, and then everything dissolves around you. You fall down to the next one. You do some more things. He's walking around. He's not just like on a fixed platform either.
Yeah.
Like he's walking around amongst you, hunting you down, which was pretty cool as well. So
Yeah. That definitely made it cool. I think what I would really like to see in a raid is what we saw in the story mission, and that's actual story. Have story play into the raid instead of because when you go into the raid, I don't remember. I don't think anyone ever talked. Like you never had any kind of voiceover or anything, if I remember.
I think
correctly.
you're correct.
Maybe when you first start, or maybe that's only in strikes. But it
When
would be
you first
cool
start,
to
I think little Dinklebot, or not Dinklebot anymore, but I think he was saying things, and then you had to just do your thing.
yeah.
I think.
But there was no no explanation or anything. But that might could be kind of cool if they incorporated some sort of story. But I don't know. It might be cool to have absolutely nothing and just have that total mystery and almost like feeling like you're alone, like you were the only fire team there. You have no contact with anyone else.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Either or.
Have the option to turn it off.
Story.
Yes.
Ah.
Do you want a story?
Maybe we had it off with D1.
D1 story, D2 story.
They meant to put that. Yeah, they meant to put that in D1, except they accidentally just turned it off and forgot to give us the option to turn it back
Crap,
on.
we launched it without the story. I just let it go. We'll make up some story. We'll give it to Kotaku in a year.
Yeah.
Polygon, whoever it was, I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. Well, I think unless anybody else has anything, I think that about wraps it up this week. You guys got anything you wanna touch on here?
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm definitely very excited.
I'm just so ready.
I mean, we got what? Today's the 10th, so we have less than a month.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
What is it? September 6th?
Yes.
Is that?
September 6th, yeah.
2
Such a
weeks
weird
until
day.
the beta too. Yeah, it's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday?
I think. Yeah.
And it was the 8th originally.
Yeah.
And then they
I
bumped
think
it
so.
up.
Yeah.
Make up your mind. Jeez.
Guess that's
And
good.
For
Oh,
us,
Wednesday. Yeah, that is weird.
exciting news for that. It launches on a Wednesday. We record the day after it launches, and that will be episode number 50. So we're gonna have some stuff planned for that one. I don't really know what yet. We're bad at this, but there's gonna be something cool coming up. We're gonna try to do some cool stuff. So yeah, but I think that's gonna do it for episode 46. Boomslangg, thank you so much for joining us, man. It was a good time getting to talk to you. I hope we didn't make you talk about yourself too much.
Oh, no, man. This was awesome. Thanks for having me on. It's fun to be able to talk about video games again, and especially talk about Destiny, because I haven't really been able to talk about Destiny on a podcast. So this is
Unless
exciting.
it was, complaining. That's the only
Yeah.
the only talking we've done about Destiny
Complaining.
before recently. So
Well, I'm hoping that those days are behind us.
yes,
We won't have
me
to
too.
complain. We
Fingers
just talk about
crossed.
how awesome it is.
Yeah, constructive criticism from here on out.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am Hove. You can find me at here, twitch.tv/Hove76, on Twitter at Hove76, and on YouTube. You can also find REZOcast on Twitter at REZOcast, and on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube, all under REZOcast. Feel free to drop by, leave us a review on any and or all of those if you'd like. That would be super. Triton?
Yeah, you can find me at pretty much all the same places, all under Triton Please, the please being PLZ. And how about you, Mana?
You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, maybe sometimes the Manigator, maybe the Dash Manigator. I don't know my own handles, but you keep on typing one of those, you'll eventually find me.
And Boom?
You can find me on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitch, but I'm not usually there. So you can maybe when Destiny 2 comes out, I'll be there a little bit more often. But you can find me on Twitter at Boomslangg with 2 G's and then an underscore at the end, because I can't get the original handle.
Did you try buying it?
It's some guy. I don't know. He's from some other country, and I tried messaging him, and I guess he doesn't exist anymore. Maybe he's dead. I don't know.
Jeez. Finally, you can also find more from Team Resolute on Twitter at Team Resolute. And probably by September 6th, teamresolute.com. I've been saying that for a couple months. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Boom, everyone in chat. And we'll see you guys next week with Triple Wreck will be our guest. So until next week, thanks, guys. GG.
GG's.
Have a great day or night wherever you are.
You can also find Hove on Pornhub under the username
my
Raw
God.
Emotion for the chat. If you